Brad Gelly?
Jeff, you talked yesterday about having fans back in the arena. For a lot of these guys that haven't experienced an opening night in the NHL, what's your message going to be to some of these young guys to experience that and all the hoopla around it?
Yeah, well, I think I'd say to all of them. Certainly, the young guys is different, but my message to all our players is to enjoy it. It's I think every day is special in this life, and I think certainly every day when you're a player in the NHL or a coach in the NHL, you should savor it, and I think that's exponential on opening night. It's the excitement of a new year. And there's just a lot of energy around the building, and I think it's great. So I think enjoy it is the number one thing, and take it in, enjoy it. Certainly, you gotta focus when the puck's dropped, and focus on the task at hand, shift by shift. But these are special times. Let's make sure we're enjoying it.
Max Boltman?
Did you get kind of some of these younger guys in the room to start out? Like, do you notice any shift in the energy on the ice, or is you around the team at all?
With the just having younger guys?
Yeah.
I think that's always personality based more than it is necessarily age. I was an assistant here in Thomas Holmstrom's last year, and he brought lots of energy, and so I think it has more to do with personalities, and it's, I think that energy is important, and you want to have some guys, certainly, I don't know if you want all of them like that, but some guys that just bring energy to the game. Certainly Bert is somebody that does that all the time. And so I really think it depends on the young guy. Sometimes young guys try to keep themselves in check a little bit early too, so they don't show all their personality right away. And you kind of learn it as you go along. And then some guys are just more serious and aren't necessarily exuding energy, but they might be exuding work ethic and approach every day.
Have you gotten a sense for what you feel like kind of the collective personality of this group is going to be?
I think it's a group that I think can have fun, can laugh and be serious at the same time, and ultimately that's probably that's probably my personality. I'm not sure my wife would agree, but that's probably my personality, and so I think you need to be able to enjoy it. You need to be able to have fun, but you also need to be able to be serious and be focused. And some groups can have fun and never be focused. And it looks like this group's a group that has been real focused so far, but also can laugh and have a good time and have energy.
Answer, Con?
Yeah, Jeff, with Sider, even at a young age, it seems like he's really experienced a lot. Being top defenseman in the Swedish League, the World Championships, and everything. How much do you think those experiences that he's already gone through will help him just not get caught up in the moment here as he's making his NHL debut?
Yeah, he's not only does he have that experience, but his personality is such that he seems to be really, really strong mentally, and that can help in a number of ways. One of which being not be wowed by anything, not be wowed by playing in the NHL, not be wowed by the moment, and feel real comfortable to just go out and play. I think it also helps, being mentally strong when you go through the different challenges that any player, certainly young players, will go through. So I think between his personalities and experience, it puts him in a position to have a good mindset. Certainly, there is no league like the National Hockey League in a lot of ways, and the challenges are unique. And you have to learn as you go, and so he'll have to learn as he goes along. And what are those challenges? It can come from the players that he's going to face. I've said this before. There's no, there isn't a Steven Stamkos or Kucherov or a Braden Point for that matter in the Swedish Hockey League. So the challenges are different. And the pressure on a day-to-day basis is different, and I think he's equipped to handle all of that. But we just have to understand that having had great success at those levels is important. But it's not going to mean he's not going to face challenges and trials and tribulations as he goes through the season. He will. What I think makes him equipped to handle it is the fact he is mentally tough, and he can get himself back up when he gets knocked down with his confidence intact.
Also, are you going to reveal the alternate captains today or tomorrow?
I think our plan is ultimately to reveal them over certainly before game time, I would say.
Ted Colton?
Hey, Jeff, what do you want to see, or what do you need to see out of Dylan Lark
Dylan Larkin this season? I mean, you didn't seem overly concerned or anything like that last season with the dip in the point. You expect that to come back here this season, or you need to see from Dylan or want to see?
Well, I'd start by saying I don't judge Dylan on points. Now,
Okay.
certainly production matters. I'm not saying it doesn't matter at all, but I don't go on a night-to-night basis and or even a 10-game segment necessarily say, well, your points are low, so you're not playing well. I judge him on a lot more things than that, and even things like scoring chances. So I'm not to say that your good plays and your bad plays don't matter, but there's points can be fleeting. And I think it's really tricky to judge people on just that. What do I want to see out of Dylan Larkin? I think when Dylan's at his best, he's skating, number one. Everybody knows he's on the ice because of how much he's skating and attacking the game. I think he's winning puck battles with his body. He's got that strong lower base that he finds ways to win tons of puck battles. And I think he's coming back and he's doing a good job defensively and able to play against anybody he faces, including the best players in the world. I would probably add one more element that he, along with a whole bunch of guys, have to be better in the power play. So, that's what I want to see. Number one, I think Dylan is a really good leader who's just going to do that naturally. And I think the most important thing is that he takes care of his game and plays at a high level.
And going back to Slider and Raymond for just a moment, just why or how are some of these kids so ready early on now? You know what I mean? Like generally in the past, it would be a lot of these kids coming up in the early 20s or whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's changed in the last, I don't know, 10 years or whatever. And, there was a time, I think, when the prime of people's careers were more, 26 to 35 maybe. And it certainly has changed a little bit to where that's a younger age, especially up front. I think with forwards, I think, the young forwards seem to come in and can have an offensive impact. And it's a little bit harder sometimes for D and goalies. I would say, an offensive impact doesn't always equate to winning, and especially winning in the playoffs. The one thing I would say to everybody is, the more seasoned teams in the National Hockey League have won the Stanley Cups over the last number of years. And some of the teams with some great young players, and I mean generational young players, are still learning how to win in the playoffs. So I don't know that formula has totally changed, but certainly some of these guys are ready, more ready at an early age. Partially because I think the league's so fast that it gets harder at an age when you start to lose your skating, and unless you have a great brain. And so now that's probably flipped it a little bit because of how fast the league is. And then these guys from, I told you yesterday, I mean, they face pressures that none of us faced. And that probably prepares them from a media standpoint, from a social standpoint, from those types of standpoints, that they're probably have to live their lives a little bit more like, I guess, for lack of a better term, robots than we did. And that probably makes them better prepared to be able to come in here and not and be able to handle it.
They probably played a lot of hockey since they've been 5 or 6 years old too, with drill, summer camps and everything like that too.
They play a crazy amount of hockey at young ages, and just an insane amount of hockey, and so with a skills coach and skating coach and all that, and that allows them to probably jump in the league a little bit quicker.
Thanks for this, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
St. James.
Jeff, when you and Steve sat down to talk about the roster, what sold you on Lucas?
Well, I think two things I'd say. One, I thought Lucas's impact. Let me go back for a second and just say again, guys, this is a day in the year. It's, I don't think, anybody makes the team. It's not like, youth sports, you make it for the season, whether you're Lucas Raymond or anybody else for that matter. Guys get traded, guys get sent down, guys lose their spots. So, this is a day by day business. Let me start with that. What sold me on putting him in a position where he's going to play a game tomorrow night for us? Two things probably. Number one, his impact on the game, as I talked about, I thought over certainly the first half of the exhibition season, his impact on the game was good. Some of those were against not necessarily NHL rosters, but the game against Chicago was a big statement game, I thought, for him, where they brought in a real good roster and he had a great showing. I thought he probably with a bunch of guys got tired then over the course of the next 3 games, but that's part of what this league is too, is learning how to play when you're tired, because lots of times you're not going to play great or feel great, I should say, and you got to find a way to still play solid hockey. So his impact on the game would be number 1, and 2 would be the level of B and C game that he has, meaning even when he's not producing a bunch of offense, or even when it doesn't look like he's doing a whole bunch offensively, he's very solid defensively. And so that allows him to continue to go on the ice and can work through those moments and find ways to create offense. Nobody in the league except for the very top players have a night in and night out unreal impact offensively. So you got to make sure you're able to be real accountable defensively, and he is.
And is that what intrigues about Moritz Seider too? I mean, just the impact he can have, and certainly, hopefully, on the power play.
Yeah, no, yeah, Moritz, both those 2 players, I think, have a chance to have a positive impact on the power play, and Moritz has done a real good job so far of kind of being on the top of that power play, and he's got real good simplicity, but yet deception to his game. I would say real efficient offensively in his game on the power play. I think it's an area the rest of his game has to keep getting better, making sure he's real efficient with his game, but he does a good job with that. So I think there's a number of areas where sides can help us, and he's just got to, again, he's going to go through growing pains though. So for any of us to think this is going to be easy and he's not going to go through growing pains, I think we're fooling ourselves. He's going to go through, there's going to be nights where he looks great and there's going to be nights where he struggles. And that's the reality of it. It's not alone. That's a lot of players, but certainly it's magnified when you're young and you're learning some lessons. So we're going to live with those lessons, and we're going to keep working like crazy to make him a great player. Both those guys, I think, I feel confident they're going to be good NHL players. I want to help them become great NHL players, and we're going to work like crazy to help them become that.
And lastly, we spoke yesterday just about the excitement anytime a new season comes in. What are your expectations for this season?
My expectations are to get into tomorrow night and make sure that we're playing real good hockey, where we're hard to play against, that we're going to check really well. We're going to be physical. We're going to have the puck a bunch, and we're going to play with speed and energy. So that's my expectation going into tomorrow night. Is
that I mean, the evaluation still for a team like the Wings more so how you played than what the result is?
I would say that I've had that type of expectation for every team I've ever coached. I think prognosticating is for others. I know what matters, and that's process. And I've been with teams that have won at high levels and won championships, and I would have had similar statements at the beginning of the year. Process matters the most. And so we got to go in on a nightly basis and focus on process, and results always follow that long term.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yep.
Kevin Allen?
Yeah, Jeff, when you say that this defense is the best that you've had as a coach, are you just talking in terms of general overall talent, or is there something specific like puck moving or one-on-one defending or something else that really makes this stand out?
I think, and I just want to make sure, and if I didn't say this correctly, I want to correct it. This is the deepest decor we've had. Is it the best? I don't know that for sure. Since I've been here as a head coach, I know it's the deepest. And why do I say that? Is because I don't know another time since I've been here that we've been able to field 8 defensemen that I think are all NHL defensemen that could play on any team in the National Hockey League. And so that depth, I think, can really help you as you go through the season, and because nobody's going to play perfect every night, so somebody else can go in and get the job done, and you're going to have injuries. That's number one. It's not necessarily defined by one area, like a great puck mover, a great big straight. I think we've got a little variance of everything. I think we have some skaters, we have some puck movers, we have some size. I think if you had a perfect decor, you'd have them all be huge puck moving defensemen that were tough and strong. But obviously nobody has that per se. So I just think the individual players are guys that have a chance to be all real good, well, like I said, all NHL defensemen in my mind. And I think guys that, you know, we have guys that can push top 4 type defensemen on teams, albeit some of our guys are young and unproven. And so they got to prove that they can do it.
Yeah, and I want to ask you a little bit about the Lightning. Obviously, they lost some players in the offseason. You can make a case that their depth isn't what it was, but when you're coaching against them, you still look across and see Kucherov and Vasilevsky, and the list goes on and on. Does it change anything about your approach to them that they've, you know, their depth may not be quite what it was?
I don't think it changes the approach from our perspective. Certainly, as you said, you look across and they have, you know, in Kucherov and Point, just on those two, and you probably got 2 of the top 10 NHL forwards in the league. I think in McDonough and Hedman, and there's other good players at each of these positions. McDonough and Hedman, you got, you know, 2 of the top 10 defensemen in the league in my mind, because I think McDonough's probably, you know, a top 2 or 3 defender in the league. I think arguably you have, or probably without a whole lot of argument, you got the best goalie in the league with Stamkos. You got one of the best shooters in the league. I mean, you have lots of talent. Are they as deep as they were? I would say that's for those young guys that are in the lineup, and for some of the new guys to prove that, you know, and certainly one game doesn't make a season. You know, so last night's game, I'm sure they weren't real pleased with. I don't think it was their best game. And can the depth on the 3rd and 4th line be as good as the group they had a year ago? You know, that group was really good. They gave them energy on nights when maybe they weren't quite going, and that's an important thing. And can this next group do it? We'll see. Zero doubt they're one of the very best teams in the league. You know, they have as I said, they have the best left side and on a decor of anybody in the league. So they're a challenge every time you face them. They're an interesting team that sometimes when they get down, they get more dangerous. You know, sometimes when the game's tied, it seems like it's a even game. And also you get up a couple and they start pushing like crazy, and they get almost more dangerous at that point. So they present challenges for sure, and that'll be fun to get after them in the first game here.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yep.
Last question, Ethan Sears.
Yeah, Jeff, you mentioned a couple times Raymond's ability defensively. I guess how rare is it for a forward who's that young to be able to contribute positively on the defensive end, and where is he maybe ahead of where a typical player his age and position would be?
You know, it's a good question. Like, a lot of young offensive players come in the league and they know how to produce offense without being solid defensively. And you can't win that way in this league, because you will never be that much better than your opponents on a night-to-night basis, when in junior you are. So, you know, to have somebody who's already been able to knows how to produce the offense, but still be a complete player, I think is a critical in terms of that player getting into your lineup and helping you win, not necessarily producing. Certainly there's guys that have come in and produced lots of points, but helping you win. And so, and like I said, I think if you ask 32 coaches in the National Hockey League, what's one of the most important things for young players, they would tell you in some version, it's earning trust, because trust equals minutes. And then when you have minutes, you're on the ice more, and now you can showcase your skill set. So I think I would give this advice to any young player coming up: find a way to be trustworthy and complete, because if you do that, then you can use your talent.